Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of How to Adult with Travis Walker. Today's show is all about going all in on yourself. Have you played poker, or do you just understand poker? Hopefully you understand poker. But this show is all about going all in, putting all your chips in the pot on yourself, betting on yourself. That is the goal. So I brought on a very good friend of mine. We taught together back in the day, and so her name is Rachel Watkins. She recently went all in on herself, and she has several businesses that she's running, several things that she's doing, and she's just thriving. She's thriving at life, and it's incredible to watch her thrive through social media. And so it's amazing. You're going to want to listen to all this show. It's incredibly inspiring. I got chills at one point, y'all. It's so good. So, before we get into the show, if you haven't shared the episode yet, go and share the episode. If you're on Spotify, it's super easy. So just share the episode, let everybody know that you're listening and learning how to adult. And if you want to sponsor an episode, you need to reach out to me. I'd love to partner with businesses that believe in me and believe in my podcast. So go reach out and let's figure something out. With all that being said, y'all, we've got to get into the show and learn how to adult. All right, Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Me too. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I met Rachel at a school that we taught at, and she was amazing. And we, we didn't work together very much, but we knew each other. So I'm excited to, get to know you even a little bit better through this. But anyways, have things been going well for you?
Yeah, super great. It's been a weird transition, not teaching anymore and going into entrepreneurship and owning my own business, but it's been learning a lot along the way, and it's been really exciting. So
amen. Amen to that. And that's what we're here to talk about. So, but before we get in there, let's learn a little bit about Rachel. I ask these questions of most of my guests, but I'm interested in your age, what's your location, and what are you doing for work? That could be a multifaceted answer, but age, location, and work. What are you up to?
Yeah, so I am 26. I'll be 27 in December, and my husband and I live in Cedar Park, Texas, so kind of on the border of Cedar Park and Leander. And I am currently doing lots of different things all at once. I am a photographer. I work for a local wedding planner here in Austin, and then I also am a social media and marketing manager and creative director for a small business out of San Diego called Kaylee's Culture. So kind of doing all sorts of things. A lot of it is all based around photography. So that's kind of where it all started, and it's just kind of blown up into lots of different things from there. So
that's incredible. Oh my gosh. So where did it start? It started at, I guess, one place, and then it kind of branched into all these other awesome opportunities. Can you kind of tell me that little story of how it branched out into where you are now?
So about 6, almost 7 years ago now, I was gifted a camera for Christmas, just your very basic DSLR camera. I had always enjoyed teaching grandparents and aunts and uncles how to use their phone cameras and their digital cameras, and always was a volunteer to be the picture taker of different events. And so when I was gifted a camera, I got to kind of play around with all the different settings and things like that. And just that's always been a part of my more creative side, is just setting up fake plants and taking pictures of them, and taking pictures of pets or friends at their sporting events. And it was always just a hobby. And then I became a teacher too. That was something else I was really passionate about, and also got to use my creative side very heavily in, but always still just kept that photography on the side, just fun. If someone was having a baby, I would, offer to take their pictures and just play around with it. And then about almost a year ago now, I had been taking pictures of a small business owner, I guess I had met in Utah when I was visiting. She had told me about that she had this small business, and it was a probiotic sparkling water. And so she asked if I wanted to try some. And so I took some home, and we were going tubing, and I just had it with me. And so I was taking pictures of it, and I just edited a few of them and sent them to her, and was like, hey, if you want to use these on your social media, I saw your Instagram is kind of new. So if you want to use these for your social media, go for it. And she loved them.
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my gosh, these are amazing. If I send you more product, will you take more?" And I was like, "Sure." Like was so super excited. And then after I kind of got that batch of pictures, she was like, "Would you want to run my social media for me? Like these pictures were great." And we had, had a lot in common after our conversations when we had first met. And so I was like, why not? Like, this was while I was teaching, but I figured, it wouldn't be too hard to balance both. And I've always enjoyed like writing on the side and marketing things. And so yeah, I just started with her running just her Instagram. And then I was like, hey, I think we need to get you on TikTok. And so I got her started on TikTok, and that kind of broadened into Twitter and Pinterest, and just helping, her get some reach, all just, through taking pictures of this can. And so that was super fun. And I really liked
Wow.
doing that. And then so throughout that, some other small businesses reached out and were like, hey, could you take some pictures of our product? And so just little by little, I was like, this could actually become something. And then I met a wedding planner, and like she wanted me to do something similar with her wedding TikToks. And so now I'm actually doing photography for her as well, just getting like detailed pictures and things so she can have a quicker turnaround for marketing purposes. And
Right.
so it's just all now, whoever needs me to take pictures. And I've been able to kind of learn about pricing and kind of, not just giving away services for free, but finding that people see value in what I can do. And so learning how to like also profit off of that and kind of make that into a business has been crazy, but super, yeah, super incredible how it kind of just all stemmed from this little hobby that I had that I never thought I would do anything with. And yeah, it just kind of blew up from there.
Wow. Wow. That
Yeah.
that is absolutely incredible. And I love your origin story of just taking pictures and sending it to the owner of the business, and just offering it to them. Obviously you can't do that the whole time, but that's a great way to get started. I've seen a lot of different stories like that. So that's really awesome, and that's really amazing. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to get
Yeah.
into kind of the first question that I have
Mhm.
for you. And really the point of this show, and kind of the point of this episode and why I wanted to bring you here, was actually a quote that I heard listening to a different podcast. But it was a guy, and he said you have to go all in on yourself, and he kept talking over and over again on betting on himself.
Mhm.
And as I'm hearing this and as I'm reflecting on wanting to do an episode, I'm like, that's exactly what my friend Rachel Watkins did. She bet on herself and she went all in. So I kind of just want to really zoom in and emphasize and ask you, how do you feel that you went all in on yourself in the last year?
I really think it started with me seeing value in my creativity. And
Yeah.
kind of like it was always something people always said, like, oh, you're so creative, or oh, you're so good at this. And it was always, I don't take compliments very well. I'm always like, oh, they're just saying that. Like, it's probably not true. But, and I think it just kind of took me seeing that, like, I am good at this. Like there's value in this creativity. People want what this thing that I can give them. And I kind of realized that I can help a lot of people, a lot of businesses with this skill that I have, or this skill set. And so it kind of took me though, taking, first seeing value in that skill that I have, and then being willing to kind of put myself out there, and kind of being willing to accept rejection. Like if it didn't go well, because she could have totally been like, thanks so much. She could have just liked it, or it could have been someone totally different running for the people who ran, her social media before, just kind of, gone through the DM. But it didn't happen that way. But it took me
Right.
stepping out and being like, I'm just going to see where this goes. And I think that's where a lot of these, business concepts that I have for my personal business have stemmed from, is just me putting myself out there. But it was it's scary to do that, because, what if they don't like it? Or what if what if I shouldn't have quit my job and it wasn't, there was all these things that could have gone wrong. So it really took me being like, there's worth in this. And I just kind of have to put myself out there and see what comes back. And it's always been, there's been a few times where it hasn't gone exactly as I was thinking it would, but never in such a way that I'd never wanted to do it again. Like, you learn, through the yeses and the rejections sometimes, that you just, you're further along and you learn something just by putting yourself out there.
Right.
And so whether or not it goes well, you still learn something from it. And I was able to grow in a way that I wouldn't have without doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. That totally makes sense. And so I kind of want to focus on the immediate transition of how did you, there's no way to know that it's going to work, right? There's no way
right.
that you could have looked into the future and know like everything is going to be okay. And so in that moment that you're trying to decide, should I go all in? What are some of the emotions that kind of went through with deciding to go all in on yourself, go all in on your
Yeah.
your side hustles?
I think I mean, there was a lot of guilt in in the beginning because I think, society kind of has gone, or in our parents' generation and kind of thing, it was you go to college and you major what you major in, and then you do whatever you majored in until you die, like, or until you retire. Like, it wasn't really I wasn't born into, a society that was like, no, just, go make your dreams come true and do whatever. It was kind of this very systematic, go to college. I majored in education. So then I'm going to teach for 50 years. And I had, family members who had taught for years and years before that, and friends,
Right.
parents who are just like, I've been here for 20 years. And, learning from them, even though, learning, okay, well, what made you, stay in for 20 years? Like, that's so exciting. Like, let me learn from you and, like, get lit up again. They were not like, it's been the best 20 years of my life type thing. It was like,
Right.
I would go, I would switch, but, it might not work out, or I have no other skills to give, or they just felt so stuck, and they sounded, not sad in what they were doing, but just they had lost that fire, but they just felt like they had no other options. And I was kind of getting to that place in my career where I had so many ideas and I have lots of random different skills that I wanted to use, and I felt like we're going unused. So then I was kind of on the side seeing, where can I add these in, because it lit my soul on fire and it was something that, like, got me excited.
Right.
And so, kind of coming to that decision of, I'm going to leave and go into something new, it was kind of all the ideas that I was having, and where I was wanting to take it was making me more excited than going to my job the next day and what I was currently doing. And so I think that, and I had a lot of support. My husband was absolutely amazing in it, because I was like, there's no way, like, we're still paying off college loans. Like, this is kind of a big risk. It was an
Right.
investment initially as well. Just in, like, some of the little things that, like, starting an LLC does, it's not free, and that kind of thing. And so just, I had a lot of support going in, which also made a huge difference. But I would say, just, I knew that I wanted to be happy in what I did, and I had to be okay with, like, that doesn't mean staying in what I went to college for. Like, it doesn't mean staying in education forever. And I think I had to go back to the core of why I enjoyed teaching. And the basis of why I loved what I did was, the creative freedom I had in it, the
Right.
helping, aspect of it. I loved being with people. I loved being with kids. I loved helping kids. And that, so I was so I was taking the core of what I loved from what I did and kind of replacing it. Like, okay, well, I'm still helping people. My goal has always been, I just want to help people. And so I'm working with small businesses and teaching them. I'm teaching small businesses how to use social media to grow their business, because a lot of small businesses now, TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and all these things are just so large, and there's these big scary monsters, they're very daunting. And so having
Right.
someone, who is younger, come up and be like, no, don't worry about it. I'll take care of this for you. You go do all the crazy numbers and, HR stuff, and just let me worry about it, because I find it super fun. And
Sure.
so just that kind of, aspect, and being like, I needed my soul to be lit on fire again. And this was really exciting. So it was scary, but it was the kind of scary that, like, made me want to do it even more. So you kind of had to jump with the urge. I didn't want to run away from it. It was one of those things, because, like, I feel some of the when we get really inspired to do something, it gets scary, and so we run from it. But it gave me the fear that I wanted to run towards. It was almost
Right.
a bit of an adrenaline rush, but also just like, this is something that I think could be really great. So I feel like I have to try it. Like, I would regret if I hadn't tried, at least.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. That's kind of how I felt about season 2 of the podcast. Was like, I've got twins that coming into this world, but it's something that I love so much. So, I'm gonna make it work. Anyways, but back to you. I think that that's an amazing answer, and kind of getting into the practicality of it. Side hustle income. transitioning to, you need this side hustle income to grow, with the more focus that you were able to dedicate to
Yes.
your side hustle, did that have an impact? Were you able to grow the income side of things with more focus on your side hustle, now
Yes.
main hustle?
Yes, just being able to have that time, even to, because I think when I was doing both at the same time, I had some time in the morning and then like some time in the evening. And then that was kind of starting to take away the time that I had in the evening with my husband, or like the things that we were doing with friends. And so I wasn't able to, learn about something new throughout the day. Like right now, I am constantly, researching Instagram algorithms and learning about all the changes and keeping up with the technology and things like that. So I have the time to do that now. I have the time to go seek out more clients. I have time to go learn from other entrepreneurs, to learn about pricing guides and, learn from mentors and invest in that myself, for myself, which I think is really important. And it's things I'm able to do that more efficiently and more effectively than I
Right.
was with trying to balance both at the same time. And it was beneficial. Like I've met some incredible people who are now clients, that through, lunches and events that I've worked at for other businesses, and met people that I would not have been able to attend had I not just gone all in. And the financial aspect of it, like it was scary at first, but I had within the first 2 or 3 months, I had started matching what I was doing previously. And so income wise, which was really exciting. And so sometimes with
Right.
photography, it can kind of ebb and flow. Like you don't make as much monthly as 1 month than you might next. And so that was when I was like, okay, how else can I use this? So product photography, all right, like lifestyle photography and family photography, and then learning how to run social media. And so kind of just combining everything and making it work for what I needed it to be, was, yeah, really beneficial.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's incredible. I think people get scared of that time and the income combination with time. So you mentioned earlier society and how society kind of dictates what people do and the decisions that they make. You mentioned you have an incredible support system. That's really fantastic. I'm kind of interested in the haters, I guess I should say. How do you? This is a very abnormal thing that you have done successfully
Yeah.
so far. And so, did people, was there judgment? Was there questioning? And how did you kind of fight through that? Knowing and believing that you can do what you wanted to do. How do you maneuver that aspect of things?
I've always gone, well, I've not always, I have learned over the past year or so that what other people think and other people's opinions are none of my business. So I have really kind of, it took kind of me being okay with that to not really, like, I'm not even sure the level of judgment I received. I know there were some, I think, skeptical. There was more people that were skeptical from my perspective than like judgment wise. Like they were just like, okay, like glad you're pursuing your dream, good luck with that, like don't worry, like it's a good thing, teaching will always be there for you because you never know like if it'll, like that kind of thing.
Right.
But it was just, I was so excited about just feeling alive again in what I was doing, that I was like bring it, like that
Yeah.
made me more motivated to make sure it was successful, make sure I worked my butt off to keep it successful and to grow my reach. And so, yeah, I would say, I think people were more skeptical of it being successful than actually like being judgmental of my decision. Because most were very supportive because my teaching was starting to really affect my health. And
Right.
it was, the last, year or two was very stressful.
Right.
And so many were just excited that I was going to be doing something that I was really excited about. And they saw that like I was really passionate about it. And so that I think made them pretty excited. But yeah, just the biggest thing for me was, they might totally be judging me, but like, whatever, like I'm going to prove you wrong. So
Right.
yeah, that was
That
probably the biggest.
Fair enough. That's
Yeah.
totally fair. And I'm sure, there were skeptical people, but I think that you've already, proven a lot of people wrong if they were skepticals.
Yeah.
Of what I've seen, it's been an incredible journey so far. So that's awesome. You mentioned your health, and I assume that kind of means mental health as well. Can you talk about for a moment just kind of shift, I guess, from previously to now. What are some of the things that are noticeable that you've noticed in yourself and your health that have either changed, probably improved? I'm kind of interested in what shift happened there.
Yeah. So I think I have more time to pay attention to my mental health now. I think as teachers, we are not really taught, but it's just kind of in the career to, as much as they, talk self-care and stuff, they don't really get to the deep part of mental health and like what that actually means. And I feel like we are taught to kind of, it's stressful and we have a lot of responsibility on us, but you just got to push forward for the kids and keep it going, and you kind of get used to pushing your stuff under the rug so you can be the teacher that you need to be for that day.
Sure.
And so kind of I feel like now I have more time and more energy to feel my feelings and to be stressed, notice I am stressed, and create a healthy mechanism to cope with that stress. Whereas before, my coping mechanism for stress was pushing it under the rug so I could, teach that concept or be there for that student. And so it became really important to me to take the time out of my day, like in the morning, like my husband and I will go do yoga together, or we will go rock. We've started rock climbing recently, and just
Right.
having, taking that time to feel the emotions and have discussions about, how you're feeling and checking in with that mental health. Whereas that is time I didn't have previously for that. And so being able to even recognize oh, I did not realize how not great I was doing until I was able to not be in, the specific environment anymore. And because it just became such a routine, stress was such a routine, and it was just, oh, it's normal to be anxious, you're a teacher, or it's normal to feel stressed, you're a teacher, it's fine. Where really in reality, that's not okay to be in that fight or flight state all the time. It's
Right.
really bad for you. And
Yeah.
so kind of, and then realizing oh, I gotta deal with not being in this fight or flight. It was almost a hard transition that you also need to give yourself time for. I was not expecting for it to be such a rash change in that way. And so I had to give myself a lot of grace, because I was like, wait, I should be, I quit 2 weeks ago, or my last day was 2 weeks ago. Why am I not just bouncing right off? It took there was a detox that needed to happen.
Right.
And just kind of getting used to not being stressed, which is so weird to say, but I think my hair was falling out, and
Wow.
it was just not great. My adrenal system was just not doing well, and all of that. One of my doctors was like, well, being in a fight or flight, all the time was really, really tearing down your immune system and just all aspects of health. So just in the I think it's been 4 months almost, just seeing how much of a change that not being in such a stressful environment has been crazy. So
Right.
you don't really realize it in the moment until you're not in the environment anymore. That you're like, oh, that was not good for me.
Right. That totally makes sense, and kind of it keeps going back to time, and that's incredible. Thinking about how income has increased from side hustle to now main hustle, and thinking about your health improving because of the time to comprehend some of these things. That's really interesting. So I'm interested in kind of maybe what your day to day looks like, or your week to week. When you wake up, what do you do, and then what do you do next, and what is kind of your journey in a day?
In a day. And it varies, which I also love, because I do not like being married to a routine at all. And
Yeah.
that was another thing, not teaching anymore, was, I had, you wake up by a certain time to get to school by a certain time, and you have the same duty, and then you teach the same thing first period. And it's just this routine. And then you go home, and then you get ready to do it again the next day. And so that was another strange thing about the transition that I was not expecting, is I have complete freedom and control over my routine. I can
Right.
change it. I can, do all these different things. So I work out at Orange Theory. I've been there for 4 years now. And so
Yes.
I do that right in the morning. And I did that when I taught as well. I go right in the morning to just start my day with movement and start my day with water. And I kind of line up my, it changes from week to week, but I line up my day based off of meetings I have with clients, or, Google Meets or Zoom calls that I might have. And I try to change it up so I don't get bored, and it keeps me on my toes. But I'll normally have a day or two of the week that I devote solely to product photography. So gathering up, Pinterest boards and creating, inspo boards for different products that I might have.
Yeah.
And I have my whole entire guest room is now a photo studio with, different lights and different backdrops, and figuring out what I can make myself. So it's almost, so I guess once I get back from my workout and I have, a smoothie or something, I'm going through, okay, what do I have to get done today? Like I go over deadlines and things like that. I try to have Mondays or Tuesdays are normally my days where and it's just I call them my inspo days. I kind of create or save the audios that I need to make for reels for different clients, or if I have a photo shoot with a family or senior or something that day, I have their boards already created, and just kind of go through all of that process.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of hard to like, what do I do? And it's because I change it all the time. I'm like, I have
This is perfect.
so yeah, and so I might go out and work from my back porch. I might go to a different coffee shop. My husband and I found this list online of like the 50 best coffee shops in Austin, so we'll have a day or two a week where we could just go work from a coffee shop and like get a change of scenery, which has also been just so great because I have so much flexibility in where I can work from, and he is also working from home most of the time now as well, and so we can just go and do that together, which is great.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And so just also, I always have my camera bag with me because I never know when I'm going to see something or find something that brings inspiration. So that's also super fun, just kind of walking around living as a photographer. And just making Google Keep after Google Keep list of things that come to my mind throughout the day. And just kind of going where the wind takes me, but also try to make sure I have all my deadlines lined up. So it's kind of, it varies from day to day. It's very
That's
fun.
incredible. I love the flexibility in that. I think that that's
Great.
incredible. I think that that's very attractive to a lot of people out there. So that's amazing. And so, fully recognizing that what you've done is scary, because it really is. And I'm really interested in kind of maybe your advice, or somebody that's kind of stuck where they're at and they hate what they're doing, and they just want to find a way out, and they're talented, much like you are. Where do people start to gain the confidence that you found in yourself?
I feel like, okay, so we have been talking a lot about like what your passions are and like this whole thing about going all in your passion. I think people also get really scared of the word passion because it kind of makes it sound like there's this one thing that's your passion and you go for it and that's like what you do. And so I think one of the biggest things for me that kind of helped me realize, because I had a lot of guilt, like leaving teaching, like I was always told like, you're just going to be so great at teaching. And this is your passion. And like, you're so great at it. And so I kind of had to come to terms with that. Like your passion isn't just, it doesn't have to be just one thing. Like there are different expressions of your passion. Like I kind of felt like I'm leaving my passion though. If I don't teach anymore, I'm not doing what I've always thought I was passionate about.
Sure.
But what I realized is there's different expressions of your passion. And that I wasn't giving up on my passion by leaving teaching. I was going in search of or an exploration of this new expression of my passion, which kind of boiled down to like the creative side of things. And so for me, I had to give myself permission to be okay with doing something scary. I had to be okay with this could totally flop, and then I'm gonna need to go find a different school to work at because the other people will be so mad that I left that they won't let me and so I think that was kind of like the biggest thing is I gave myself permission to go do something scary, because I was afraid of what I would miss out on if I didn't at least try.
Right.
And so it got to the point where the fear of missing out on this something so exciting and this verge of something that could be so great outweighed any fear that or guilt that I had about leaving the safe routine, and that I was currently in.
Sure. Wow. That totally makes sense. That totally makes sense to me. Absolutely. let's see, where do I want to go next? I want to go to kind of limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome because I talk about this a lot on the show, but I think it's so important because I feel like realistically, a lot of people feel that. And it keeps people from their dreams. It keeps people from what they should be doing. So,
Mhm.
did you encounter any of those feelings in your journey? Any limiting beliefs or imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome probably has always been my biggest struggle because, especially as a creative and as a photographer, there are so many photographers in Austin. Like anywhere you go, there it just seems like I think there was a point where when I was, I guess it was after I'd graduated college, but I was like kind of like, oh, I wonder if photography was something I could do on the side. And someone either said it wasn't directly to me and it wasn't like in response to anything that I had said I wanted to do, but they were just talking about how annoying it was that like everyone was becoming a photographer these days. Like it's just
Hmm.
so weird. Like everyone's becoming a photographer. Like so I was like, oh well, can't start that business because everyone's becoming a photographer. Like and um and just kind of you have to give up the comparing your and I feel like you see this in any career ever, but just comparing yourself to other photographers and other people
Right.
that making reels on TikTok and figuring out like, oh, like, the quality of their video is so much better, or, oh, I can't just steal that because, they created that. And so just kind of fearing that like what you put out there isn't going to be as good as what other people are creating. And that's where I also had to give myself permission to not be as good as everybody else because you won't be
Yeah.
starting out. And I'm not like, I will be the first person to be like, anytime I am like run into a photographer at a wedding, I like chat with them and I'm like, tell me something that's really helped you in your business. And like, just, I wish to learn from every person I encounter, whether it's someone in the same field as me or someone who has just gone through something that I like want to gain perspective from. And so, also, yeah, I just had a brain freeze. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but
That's okay.
just you're giving yourself permission to completely be terrible at something for a bit because it takes time. Like you're not going to be a pro overnight, but you have to be willing to be the rookie. My husband and I started kickboxing a couple weeks ago, and I was so terrified because I was like, you're going into this MMA gym where all these people have been like fighting for years, and the coach is like a professional UFC
Right.
fighter. And like, I was like, I just am uncoordinated. And we were laughing at each other the entire time because we were both so terrible at it. And my husband was like, you've got to be okay with being new at something, with not being good at something.
Sure.
And I was like, I can apply that to literally everything that's going on in my life right now. Like I had to be okay with not being a pro the first time I tried it. And if you even go back and look at the first content and the first reels and TikToks that I created for people, they're not that great. Like I look back now and it was only about a year ago. But like to be able to see the growth that I've made was
Yeah.
like, that kind of gives you the confidence of, okay, I am getting better and it is okay. And then, someone might ask me like, hey, how did you do this one thing? It was really cool. And that was like, oh, I did something right. Like someone wanted to know how I did it. And so there's always going to be people who are better than you, and that's okay. And I want to go learn from them. Like if I'm comparing myself to an artist or a creative, I want to try to steer myself towards like, what question could I DM them and be like, and learn something like, how can I grow from this person rather than
Right.
like, how can I make myself feel absolutely awful because they're so much better than me? Like you have to be willing to put yourself out there in that way. And that's something that I would have never seen myself doing a year or two ago. Because I feel like even in the teaching world, it's kind of cutthroat sometimes. Like
It
everyone's, I
is.
feel like, kind of out teach each other and be the first to come up with this really cool idea in our planning meetings. And like when you don't, you feel kind of crappy. And so
Yeah.
I feel like I was always in this environment where I was constantly trying to just be better than everybody else and be the first one to come up with something really creative. When and over the past year or so, I've just learned that like it's okay to be the rookie. Like, and I love being the rookie
Yeah.
because I am learning so much more just actually accepting you are a rookie. What can you learn from this rather than missing out on learning opportunities because I'm trying to pretend to be better than I know that I am.
There
If
you
that makes
go.
sense. So yeah.
That's incredible. Absolutely. So thinking about you said you're not better than, the other photographers out there, and recognize. I think it's a really important thing to recognize just in life. You are not better than, insert job,
Yeah.
than somebody else. And so how do you both recognize that you're not the best in the field while also going out and selling yourself,
Yeah.
as somebody that's super talented and super good at something? How do you balance that? I'm interested in your answer.
There's definitely a balance because you don't want to go so far to on one side of the spectrum that you just talk down on yourself all the time. But
Right.
my balance is I just never want to miss out on a learning opportunity. So I want to be okay enough with being the rookie that I'm not afraid to be like, hey, how did you do this? Or I noticed you use this technique where like, what is a piece of advice you have? And yeah, there is a very strict balance with that. But I just blanked again. Oh my goodness.
That's okay. That's okay. No, I think that's
um,
totally fair. Totally
yeah,
fair. So when you're reaching out to a client, and you
yeah.
recognize that they have somebody, that they have other people that they can reach out to,
Hmm.
what is the balance for you between, I'm not the best at this, but I can serve you super well.
Right. So when someone reaches out to me or a client or, puts in an input form, um, I am never going to be like, I don't think I'm, the person for you. Let me recommend somebody else. Because when I receive those kind of inquiries, I am like, they reached out to me. I am the like, you got to kind of pump yourself up about it. Like I'm exactly what they need. And I like
Right.
send them whatever I have, because also I feel like we are so hard on ourselves that it's easy to like get swept into like, okay, I'm not going to send them this work that I've done because I didn't think it was really good, or like have, because most photographers have like a portfolio and that's normally on their website type thing, which
Yeah.
I'm still working on, but we're going to get there. But that they send clients like, here's the work that I've done. If you feel like I'm a good match for you, let me know type thing. And so just being able to be like, I think this is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and send it, and just kind of overcoming that fear of um, they're reaching out to me, but I don't deserve this reach out type of thing, and
Yeah.
just going for it. Which I know is so much easier said than done, and it's something I'm still overcoming. I feel like every day, but you just have to go for it. Like anything anywhere. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned this year is you literally just have to go for it, because none of the business ideas or business concepts that I've been able to create over the past few years, to a year and a half, it's not even a few years yet, have been because like no one has come to me. I have always been the one to be like, hey, like I like what you're doing, I want to be a part of it, here's my skills, and if they seem interesting to you, let me know. And that's how I have gotten most of my clients. And if I would have just sat there on my computer waiting for someone to pop in an inquiry form, the chances of my business going as well as it has so far would not have been possible.
Oh
I
yeah.
had to go out, and I had to just go for it. And I am the most, not the most, but I am pretty socially anxious. Like I don't like putting myself out there. I don't like pumping myself up for people and marketing myself. Like I'm the worst person at marketing myself. I don't like being, here's my work, I'm so amazing. But it was when I saw people that I knew, like that I knew I wanted to work with, like businesses that I love what they stand for, and like I want to help them be better. And I'm like, okay, I know at least that I could help them at least, boost their social media a bit, or that they, these pictures aren't great. I think maybe like I could do these pictures a little better, like send them some things of what I've done. And so you just pushing past the fear of and just going for it, I think has made the biggest difference in my business.
Yeah,
And just like you
absolutely.
are worthy of, you are worthy of that, so like go for it.
Yeah, I think also like you you don't let you let the client decide if you are the right
Exactly.
person for them or not.
Exactly. And if you're not, they're going to tell you, like,
Right.
and they're going to, if, no one, I feel like I am very much like, if someone sent me something, I would feel bad about turning them away, but like business owners aren't like that. They're not, people who they want to make sure that the investment, because I'm an investment. If someone's going to invest in my work, like that's a risk that they're also taking for their business. Cause I could just be, I could be terrible at what I do and it not go well for them. So like, yes, exactly. You have to go for it. And then they completely have the right to be like, yes, we love it. Or, you know what, not right now. This isn't the right time. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
So, but you wouldn't know if you won't try. Like you won't know if you don't at least put yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah, I think as I'm listening to you also, the myth of if you build it they will come kind of comes to mind, which to me is a myth
Oh, it's
because,
very true.
well, I challenge it just because, you have to go out and get it. You have to go out and
Mm-hmm.
you got to build it, but you have to
Yeah.
go and try to make them come.
Yes.
you know,
You
you
have
you
to you have to build something that people see and like that they find worth in, or that they, that they can get excited about. And sometimes, like right now, my website isn't done yet. So I don't have a place that people can go. Like I don't pop up when people are looking for social media management. So right now that's my way, me putting myself out there and bringing the people in. It's kind of how it's working right now. I'm not at that point where like it's built. Now I wait for them to come. And so I do
right.
feel like I agree with you that it is like well, it's almost like that's the second stage. Like first you have like, there's a stage where you're at first having to bring everybody in and like market yourself really hard and just send, hey, I took this picture of your can. If you want to use it for social media, go for it.
Yeah.
And then, once I actually have a business built up and somewhere where people can go to find me and that kind of thing, then I feel like that's where you built it and now they're coming. But I feel like it's not like that way from the beginning. Because
Yeah.
if I would have just like, because I could totally have my website done by now if I would have just started like from the day that I wasn't teaching anymore, just solely worked on my website and solely worked on getting my pictures for my website and all of that kind of thing. But then that wouldn't have worked for what I needed it to, because I also needed that consistent income coming in. And so I
Yeah.
had to kind of take it slow. Like I've done parts of my website, like that's on my, weekly, like Wednesdays is my website. Like that's when I take an hour or two to work on my website. But if I'm, spending all of that time just building it, they can't go find it yet because it's not done yet. And
Right.
then I'm not, bringing any clients in. So I feel like it gets to a point where you have built it and they come, but you also have to do the groundwork at the beginning first.
Yeah, I
So
love that
it's like
challenge. Yeah.
yeah,
And it just kind of also puts in my mind of all of this is a process, right? It's not going,
exactly.
and you mentioned like not walking in and being a black belt at kickboxing. I don't know if that's the
Mhm.
thing, but you don't walk in being a professional
Right.
at kickboxing when you walk in. So that totally makes sense to me.
Rome
That
wasn't built in a day.
right. Rome was not built in a day.
Yeah.
So kind of changing gears more towards you as an individual, how would you say that you've grown as a person throughout this life event, really, over the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 months? How have you changed as an individual or grown as an individual?
I have, let's see, that's a really good question. Um, I have learned that it is okay for your mindset to change. Like it is healthy to have a shift in mindset, a shift of that perspective brings. And I feel like I was before very strict with how I viewed the world or how I viewed my job and what the definitions of certain things were, like passion and, people who owned small businesses. And I feel like through all of this, I've just been able to have such a different perspective of like how we value small businesses even. And like, I am so much more eager now to like want to go support small businesses because I know the hard work that they're putting into it. And I
Right.
know, I feel like I have starting from the ground up or something it's really scary. It's very intimidating, and there's a transition that comes with that I feel like a lot of people don't expect. And so it took a lot of believing in myself, which I don't feel like I did very well before. I feel like this was, and I'm not generally a big risk taker.
Hmm.
And so I think that's another way that I am not afraid to just go for it and be super proud of the work that I have done. And like I said before, I'm not great at taking compliments. I don't like, I'm not good at like pumping myself up. especially marketing to people. But I think that's another way that I've grown, is that I feel that I have a skill that the world, that aspects or parts of the world need, and that people can be excited about. And that's not selfish. That's not haughty. I'm not being boastful about it. It's not vain. Like, that's okay to be like proud of the work that you've done
Right.
and be proud of the direction that you're taking your life. And I take pride. I have a level of pride in it that I didn't have before. It was just like, this is, I did the things you know, I, I graduated high school. I graduated college. I worked in the field that I majored in, but it goes so much deeper than that. And I feel like it was becoming really soul crushing to just kind of feel like you're going through the steps and going through the motions and, staying on the path. Why I feel like I always question, why are we so eager to stay on the path? Like, what's wrong with a little detour here and there, or go off the path? And, that's where all the excitement happens.
Right.
You miss a lot when you're just so focused on like, this is the path I'm on and I'm going to do this until I retire. You might miss out on something really exciting. And you can do both at the same time. Some people are amazing I work with a wedding planner, and one of her coordinators is a teacher,
Yeah.
and she does wedding coordinating, and it's amazing. And I'm like, go you, like, that's awesome. But I feel like I needed to choose one, because going all in on my passion in that moment, in that time, meant that I had to give one of them up. And I had to kind of make okay, which one is going to be more beneficial to me health wise, like
Yeah.
mental health wise, what's going to benefit my family more, like, and so, and in that case it was this. And so I've gotten a lot better at kind of seeing what I need to be okay, seeing what I need to be healthy, and like making that decision. Like, it's okay to make a decision for your health,
Yeah.
which is kind of scary too, because that's a lot of times not what the decision that people want you to make, because it's inconvenient and that kind of thing. But making that, it got to the point where I was like, this is a decision that I'm making for my health and for my family. And so that would not be something that I would be willing to do previously. I feel like before, it was just kind of like I was willing to sacrifice all of it just so I could, be the best teacher I could be. And so
Right.
kind of realizing that, like, hey, you're human too. Like, you are a person who is degrading quite fast because of this environment, and you need to go find that fire again.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, that's kind of a long-winded explanation of it, but I've grown in lots of ways and there's
Yeah.
probably more.
That's
But
incredible. That's
yeah.
incredible. And maybe to just elongate this a little bit more, I think it's a different
Yeah.
question, but maybe it's the same question to you. But what would you say the best thing you've gained, or the most beneficial thing you've gained from going all in? Going all in on yourself. What's the best thing, or the most important thing that you think you've gained?
Probably my joy for life, my excitement about life has just been reignited, and I feel like I'm seeing the world in a different way that I didn't before. Um, and I'm just excited about being live again, which is a lot. Like, I feel like I am getting to experience something that a lot of people don't, and that's joy in their job. And
Yeah.
that's excitement in their job. And I know, like, a lot of people, oh, well, you feel this way starting out, just wait. Or people kept telling me, like, you're going to get so sick of being at home with your husband all the time, type of thing. And I'm like, no, we're literally so excited. And I'm traveling all over the place. I've been able to meet people that I would have never been able to meet before, because of the flexibility that this job has given me. And going all in has just given us so many different adventures that I know that I would not have gotten to experience. I've met amazing people. I'm getting to go on a 3-day paddleboarding trip in Arizona next week, or in 2 weeks, because of people
Yes.
that I met through all of this. And just, I'm like the photographer for the trip. And it's just going to be like, just all these different opportunities. And I'm seeing the world, and in such a different light. And I feel like that's really important because we're human. Like, we need to have joy, and we need to have that spark and be excited about life, because, like, we're so young, Travis. Like, we are
Yeah.
so young. Like, I even had said, before I quit my job, like, I am too young to be feeling this miserable in, like, my current environment or this current
Right.
state. And like, we have so much life to live, and we have so much life to give, and we have so much to offer the world. And I feel like it's super important to just acknowledge that you have skill. And a lot of people don't feel like they have other skills outside of what they do, but I promise they do. Like,
Right.
so many of these things I didn't even realize I was good at until I just tried doing it. And I was like, wow, I might not be super good at it, but I like it. And I think that was
Right.
even more important, is I just have so much fun doing this and I enjoy learning about it and getting better. And that's something that was huge for me as well. And so that kind of just outweighed any fear or any anxiety I had. And it just became more of like, I want this feeling all the time. And so you just chase that and you go for it. And yeah, so it's exciting.
Yes. Oh
Every day's
my
different.
gosh. I'm inspired. I absolutely love your story. I absolutely love everything you said. I got chills at one point, not gonna lie. So I'm so glad that you were so willing to come on and teach us all of these things as you continue to teach the world several different things. So thank you so much. But
Yeah.
before we go, I want to give you the opportunity. Where can people go find you and find your
Yes.
businesses and all of the things?
So my business is currently called Curation Studios. The whole website and everything, curationstudios.com, is not up and running just yet, but it will be soon. But for now, I'm on Instagram as In Between Adventures, or you can just search my name, Rachel Watkins, and see some of my photography. Also, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Kaylee's Culture, a sparkling probiotic water. You can find her on Instagram too. I run all the social media for that. And so, yeah, that's a hip, cool thing that everyone in Austin should love, because sparkling water and probiotics.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm kind of found in all over the place, but those are my two main spots right now. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, y'all go follow those accounts. You really need to follow what's going on in Rachel's life, because she's really doing amazing things. I've been really impressed and inspired by your journey. So I'm super excited. Go follow those accounts. Also, go follow my accounts at How to Adult TW on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are going to continue to learn how to adult together.